I had totally forgotten that I'd done that. That counted. I was like, let's press live. Oh, it's counting. Excellent. Off to a flying start.
I feel like this is par for the course for us. I feel like this is on brand.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like this feels good and comfortable and right.
Good. I'm glad. So hello and welcome to any of you who have joined us. Kelly is one of the people who introduced me to Ali Hazelwood in our like affection for Ali Hazelwood's love interests specifically, and our affection for Kylo Ren and Love Hypothesis, etc. So I am so freaking excited to talk more Ali Hazelwood with you, and I have had to like really rein it in because when we've done like read-alongs together before or even just buddy reads, I've texted you constantly and I've had to like actively avoid our group chat because I know for a fact that if I said anything to either you or Ali, that's it. That's all we'd have done. It's just like talking about it. So how did you find it? Because you obviously it was a reread for you. How did you find that?
Yeah. I mean, I reread it very quickly. But I think I remembered the broader points of the story, but I didn't remember a lot of the details.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember the sort of the overall arc of the romance because, you know, that was what I was there for, but I had forgotten a lot of the details about like all of the chess things that happen.
Okay.
So I think that was really fun for me to revisit because I got really, like the first time I read it, afterwards I was like, I'm really into chess now. I did nothing with that sudden interest, obviously. But so revisiting it, I was like, oh, chess is so fun and interesting again.
I love that.
And I'm probably gonna do nothing with it again.
But do you know what? I like that Ali Hazelwood will really get you invested in a hobby you have no intention of actually pursuing. But for 5 minutes, it feels like you're just in the world. And I feel like, you know how like everyone's in on hockey at the moment and everyone's like, oh my God, I love a hockey romance. I'm going to watch actual hockey. And then they're finding that they still don't like sports. Like they're still not actually into watching sports. But the idea of watching hockey because of hockey romance is what does it. I think it's really funny that the first one for Bunsen Burner, the thing is chess, which is notoriously boring and slow and draws out a very particular kind of guy to play chess. I say that Zach, my partner, is a big fan of chess. Not necessarily going to sit and watch chess, but he will happily sit and play it for hours and takes it very, I mean, any board game he takes very seriously. Chess just happens to be one of them. So I do think that's, yeah, I do think that's kind of funny that it does that. Did you give it 5 stars the first time you read it?
I think so. But admittedly, I think I've only not given one of her books 5 stars.
Okay, which book did you not give 5 stars?
Love on the Brain.
Oh, interesting. That is that. Okay.
But,
okay,
yeah.
I think I gave Love on the Brain 5, but I'll be interested to see. I gave this one 4. So for those who haven't looked at the title, but I assumed you would, we are discussing Check and Mate, which I thought was a YA going into it, but it's not, is it? It's new adult.
Yeah, it was sold as YA because like publishing still refuses to make new adult a thing, but like they are adults.
Yeah.
And it's another one of those books where it feels like it's being done a disservice to sell it as YA because it shouldn't be, but like it's the only place for it to go.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to turn the spoilers bit on because I think actually like I just don't want people to be like, you're talking about stuff, and yeah, obviously that's why we're here. I thought it was really interesting. Okay, I do have a list of grievances, which I'm sure you will defend, because I know how much you love Ali Hazelwood. But I do have a list.
This is why when you asked what I rated it, I was like, I'm pretty sure I gave it 5 stars, but like that actually doesn't mean anything.
No, you're like just vibes, just vibes.
I know I don't have an objective opinion when it comes to her books.
But that's okay. But that's the thing is like that's why I'm really like excited because I've got such a variety of people that are doing this book club with me. And I did ask a couple of people, like, do you want to do this? And they were like, well, I've never read Nally Hazelwood. And I was like, well, do you want to risk it? Because if you hate it, you've only got to read the one book. But if you don't own the book, then there's no point. And most people who hadn't tried at least one Ellie Hazelwood said no because they just didn't want to risk it, which I think is really funny. So everyone else has read Nally Hazelwood, and either it's a reread and a book they love, or it's one of the ones they haven't tried yet, but they're expecting to really like it. So I think it's absolutely fine going into this book club, knowing that you and Ali are going to, there's no objectivity, fully biased. You are going to 100% be, and to everything that I say. I think that's fine, because I know that I can be very critical, especially when is it that deep? Like fundamentally, like it's not real. Is it that deep? But I've got some things that I want to talk about. The first thing I want to talk about that I think is really interesting and was more of like a positive thing is obviously because it's targeted YA new adults, it's fade to black. They smooch, they touch a little bit, and then suddenly it's the next day and they're snuggling again, right? What I thought was really interesting, and this is why I've put the spoiler bit down already, is that at the end, when they play their chess game, that is also fade to black, because they've had this like really intense, I want to play with you energy the whole time, that chess has now become this like really intimate thing. And we don't get to see it. We get to hear, obviously, in the epilogue how, like, what the result was and how it ended, blah, blah, blah. But the idea that when they finally, like, sit and go to move a piece and it fades to black, I think it's really interesting, like, as a choice. Thoughts?
I liked it because it felt, like you say, it had been built up to be this really, like, intimate thing between them. So I like the kind of mirroring of that. And I also, oh yeah, I can give spoilers because I mean it ends in what, like 11 draws and then she wins.
Yeah.
And I feel like us having to read about 11 matches where they also, because sort of in the chapter before that they're like, oh, the perfect game of chess would be really boring if it's like perfectly matched and it would have to end in a draw, and that it was like, well, this is the perfect game of chess, and it's like because they're so perfectly matched. Yeah, I'm just here for all the cute stuff.
Yeah, no, I think it's really cute. And I also I really like the fact that her style of chess is very in her head first, because they're all like that. But her running monologue when she's playing, I find so funny, because there's times when she's like, and then every now and she'll be like, oh, and then suddenly she's like, I don't know what any of this means. You're just like, I'm listening to it as an audiobook or reading it. I'm not imagining a chessboard. I'm not imagining where those pieces go. But I just feel like, you go, girl. You do what you need to do. I'm here. I'm supporting you. I have no idea what's happening. I feel like just another one of her sisters that's just kind of like, sure, crack on. Like, do what you got to do, you know?
Like, I like chess. Like, I don't really play it because I know I'm not good at it. And I was in the chess club at school until I was from, like, I don't know, probably like 8 to 10. And I stopped because I was really bad and I don't like being bad at things. So I never, like, got to the point, like, I know how all the pieces move, but I never got to the point of, like, learning moves and learning maneuvers and, like, learning games. So all the chess stuff they were talking about, I was just like, this means nothing. And there's that scene at the press conference where the moderator's like, oh, let's play a game of chess. And they start naming spaces. And I'm like, but how do you've just called out a piece on the board. Like, how do you know what piece they're moving? Like, what is, my brain can't compute this.
No. It's too much like maths. I'm like, you've lost me. I can't do that at all. But I thought it was really interesting that, like, I feel like I'm going to start getting to the negatives now. So it's going to be interesting to see how you, like, feel about these things. I feel like there was a lot of stuff going on in her head. A lot of the conflict was internal, and I was fine with that because of it being such a cerebral game. It just felt like that made sense. That's fine. Like that's reasonable. How did you find when you read it the first time or the second time, whatever, the build up around the mystery of her dad? Because I made a note in my little notes app around chapter 5 that was like, he's dead, isn't he? Question mark. Because it was just like he's just not there anymore, is kind of how he's described originally. And then it becomes like more obvious that something else has happened. And it's not until she goes and bumps into that lady that she just never speaks to, but it's just like, she's here, and like runs away, that there's even a hint that maybe it's not just that he died, it's maybe he's left. And then I was like, does he know that his wife is really ill then? Like, is he aware of this? And it felt like it was vilifying him in this really bizarre way. And then, but also like vilifying her, like she feels bad. So like, yeah, how did you find with that whole development of what actually happened to her dad?
I feel like I remember figuring it out before it was revealed, and that was one of the things that going into the reread I remembered.
Mm-hmm.
I actually didn't remember that he had died, but I did remember that, like, I did remember like the affair and how that had led to her stopping playing chess. So I don't fully remember how I experienced it the first time. I think for a while I was just annoyed because I
Yeah.
was like, what do you mean? Something you did relating to your dad stopped you from playing chess? Like, I can see how these individual things are things, but the whole puzzle is not fitting together for me. And then when I figured it out, I was like, oh, okay, that like this makes sense. And I can see how to a 14-year-old it can feel like it's your fault. But yeah, I feel like I just remember being this is why part of why I don't read mysteries, right? Because I'm just frustrated until either I figure it out or like it gets revealed.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, I just want to know, like, why do you keep complaining about this? I just want to know what happened.
What is and it was really like really slow burn in like she was very much keeping like her cards to her chest type thing, which I've just realized which mug you're using. Sorry, in this second, I have just realized which mug you're using. That is so cute. That's so funny. So I got very excited then. Yeah, I think that for me, it was weird because it was almost like Ali Hazelwood was like, I'm going to keep this so I can do a big reveal. But then the actual reveal was just kind of like, I don't know, because she had such a reaction when they're playing their tic-tac-toe game. She has such a reaction to him asking about it. And like Nolan's interest in her obviously comes from a place of like recognizing her surname and like seeing her ability to play and like recognizing things like that. So I think my cat is yelling outside the door, but I can't risk him coming in because he will be a menace.
I can't hear anything.
Oh, it's fine. Cool. But yeah, like I don't know, it became a thing, but like I found the way other people react to it a bit rubbish. And this is where like I told you in the group chat that I have one note, and that note is just gaslighting. Because it very much there were times, and this was definitely one of them, where it felt like Ali Hazelwood at this point, 9 books in, her editor's just like, yeah, great, don't worry about it. Even when there's plot points that I'm like, do we not want to address that, or are we just gonna pretend that didn't happen earlier? So, for example, her sister Sabrina treating her like absolute garbage throughout the whole thing, and the mom being like, oh, it's just because she's a teenager, you were just as bad, and da 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 da. And then, like, when she finally blows up at them, and in my opinion, rightly so. I was driving in the rain yeah, I was driving in the rain listening to that as an audiobook chapter at the time, and I was so mad on her behalf that they were. So, for context, for anyone who hasn't got to that part or did get to that part, which part I'm talking about, she's cooking them dinner, and she's been away working with Nolan for a while, and now she isn't working with him at all, and she's come back to her house, and they're like taking the mick in a not even like a jokey way, but just genuinely like, why is she even trying kind of energy about the food that she's cooking them for dinner. Now, at this point, she has paid all of their bills. Her sister Sabrina is able to do whatever she likes and go wherever she likes because Mallory is paying for it. The younger sister, we later find out, has already like blabbed the secret, so everybody knows what's going on with regards to where this money's coming from. And her mum joins in. Like, even her mum makes like a snotty comment, in my opinion. Like, I think the way they narrated it was like very gentle, like, oh, she's trying kind of thing. But like, it's still like a rude comment about her food. At no point does she check her kids and go, don't you dare talk to your sister like about your sister like that. I could not do what I'm doing without her. Because like Sabrina is so like, you're not our parent, but your mum's doing nothing. I nearly swore that. Your mum is doing nothing. And she blows up at them, and her mum is like, enough. You've done enough. Excuse you? Like, I would have lost my mind. I would have, the tantrum that would have tantrumed, oh, if it had been me, that would have gone down very differently. So the idea that like 5 minutes later, they're all hugging and crying in her bedroom, and she feels like a bad person for calling them out for their behavior, irked me. So yeah.
Firstly, are we not supposed to be swearing? Just so I know.
It's only because I'm back to teaching now, and I just have this horrendous fear that one of my students is going to be like, Miss, I watched your video the other day and you were swearing. Like, I've told my students I swear at home. I just don't swear in the classroom because like I call them out on their language. So that's the only thing. You can swear all you like. I don't care. There are still videos that have me swearing that I'm like, I'm not going to take this down. But fundamentally, it's just one of those things where I'm like, I just have to be slightly more sensible in how I talk about things because I am back to full-time teaching. So
how I felt about her mom in that situation was I was like, her mom then comes through and she's like, oh, but I've been doing so much better and I've been doing so much for them while you've been away and like we can manage without you. Like, then why are you still making her be the parent when she comes home? Like, why aren't you like, I'm so grateful for everything that you've done for us. Hi, let yourself be an 18-year-old child for a moment. Like, and I can, cook us dinner and I can keep driving your sister's places because I've been doing that just fine without you. Like, if you're doing just fine, then let her actually be a child instead of forcing her to be a parental figure and then complaining about the fact that she acts like she's people's parents.
Yeah. And yeah, exactly. And I'm like, the idea that Sabrina was like, oh, I was mad at you because you were the reason Dad left, but I'm not that mad at you. No, that is a lie. That is a straight up lie. The way she speaks, there was a bit where she basically is rude to Mallory whilst Mallory's coming to pick her up from Derby, and she is really like rude to her face in front of her friends and like roasts her in front of her friends. And I thought, again, if that were me and I'm there to give her a lift and she's talking to me like that, I would have driven away. She can stay there. If mum can come and pick you up, you crack on. If you've got all the money that you need to get a taxi home, you help yourself. Don't you dare talk to me like that. Like the disrespect. But then it was the gaslighting. Like, I appreciate that not every teenager, and I can say from experience, not every teenager can talk about their feelings in a mature and sensible way. But there are always consequences for your actions like that. That is unacceptable. And I found that so crazy. But then I can't even say that this is just like it made me wonder whether Mallory was a unreliable narrator, because there was that. And then there's also her friend, whose name I've forgotten. I literally read this like 2 days ago.
Easton,
yeah. There's Easton as well. Now, we are literally told that Mallory has been texting her. She's like, they've had like a bit of a conversation. She goes to continue the conversation and then just she never gets a response.
Yeah.
And like that she messages Easton asking her questions, and Easton either doesn't respond or gives monosyllabic responses. And then Easton has the audacity to turn up and go, "You should have reached out. I missed you. Get out."
Yeah.
Actually, I would, again, the tantrum I'd have thrown. I'd have got my phone out and been like, "Oh, should we just check the receipts?" Because again, Mallory was doing the most. So for Easton to be like, "Oh, you should have just, I missed you. My life isn't so great. Yeah, I've got a great new girlfriend, but uni's hard. Get out. Get out." No, I was raging. I was like, why is everyone gaslighting her? To the point that I thought, genuinely, does Ali Hazelwood not want to write romance anymore? Does she want to write murder mysteries? But she's not allowed because we all want her to write more romances. And therefore, this is as close to like a thrillery, like, yeah, it was weird. I didn't like it. That I found really difficult.
That said, if she wanted to start doing some murder mystery romances, so here for it.
Sign me up. Sign me up. But like, if Mallory's going to be an unreliable narrator, she has to actually be unreliable, not just have people that are talking to her and straight up lying to her. So anyway, yeah, so we've got the sisters, we've got Easton, Nolan and Daphne lying to her about the scholarship was a choice. And that felt, it was interesting because obviously that's the one she's mad about, right? She's mad about them lying. And I love when her mum's like, "Oh, because you've told him the truth." Like, which I was like, okay, actually, fair. Like lying about where the money came from is really interesting to me because at no point are there any hints from Daphne or Oz that that's what's going on, or from Nolan. When Daphne turns up, she literally says, "I hate that guy and I love that you beat him, so come work for me." And like, what a choice of like introduction if you've accepted his money to pay for her. Like, is that because she went in knowing that Mallory didn't like him? Because the only evidence she's got to that is the fact that she won and then ran away. Like, that doesn't suggest hate to me. That suggests fear. Like, that to me is not, it doesn't equate. The maths isn't mathing there. So how did you feel about that little plot twist or third act conflict, which we all know we're big fans of?
So that was also a thing that I remembered. So I also don't remember what my initial reaction to it was. I think I did feel. Can I just say, I think one of my favorite characters in this book is Oz.
Mm-hmm.
He was such a good time, and I think I very much felt like he did. So she was like, she didn't tell me where the money came from, and he was like, "Well, you didn't ask," and I was like, "Well, yeah, like,
yeah,
you kind of have to accept that someone gave her money," and like it feels like it, I think it coming from him is ickier because now like they'd kind of started a relationship and he still hadn't told her, but also they were really only like a day into their relationship.
Yeah.
And she so far had proved herself to be very skittish by, as you said, literally running away from him.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's slightly justified. And she's like extremely proud.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like him withholding that bit of information, I possibly would have done the same thing in that situation and been like, let's just get ourselves a little bit more secure, like, and then I'll gently break the news to her. Yeah, I just felt like so I mean, I feel like she very much overreacted, but also she's 18.
Yeah.
So I feel like all of the moments in the book where I was like frustrated with her, or I was like, what are you doing? Why are you being this dumb? I was like, she is also a child.
Yeah.
So even in the moments that she frustrated me, she's a character I have a lot of affection for because I feel like been through so much and like has stepped up so much that she hasn't been allowed to like grow and mature in a normal way. And I feel like it's justified that she doesn't have the healthiest responses to things. I do think that perhaps anyone at any point in this book should have suggested therapy for many of the characters. But like, even in the moments that I was like, what are you doing? I felt a lot of sympathy for her. So I think she completely overreacted, but I understand why she overreacted. And I think they were wrong for hiding it from her, but I also understand why they hid it from her.
I feel like the moment there were rumors that they might be in a relationship, when Daphne's like, is there anything you want to tell me, essentially? And she's like, no, nothing is happening. Daphne should have said something. Because I wrote again that Daphne played the long game in getting Mallory to get the work done. So like there's a bit where she's like, oh my God, reading about chess is so boring. I just want to play chess. I don't need to read these books. And then she plays a game that takes forever against Daphne, and Daphne wins just by playing on the fact that Mallory's bored. And being like, well, if you'd done the research, you'd have seen that coming. And I was like, do you know what? Genuinely amazing. Like teaching style, loved it. But then having done that, didn't know Mallory well enough to know that not talking about the money long term wasn't going to blow up in her face. So I agree that Oz is a great character. And my favorite quote of his,
I am losing you a little bit.
He has the social relevance of a concrete block with googly eyes on it. Genius. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I did hear everything you said. It just took a while.
No, that's fine. So I love that he did that. The way he tells Mallory off, I thought, well, that's actually like, there's no empathy there whatsoever. When he's like, you're a mean person, I was like, oh, you are one to talk because you have actively tried to keep her at a distance. Maybe assuming you'll have to play her at some point and you don't want her to like know all of your secrets and stuff. But like you have like insulted her or told her to go away in a variety of hilarious and colorful ways. So for you to rock up and be like, you know, you've left Daphne out in the cold. Daphne made the choice not to tell Mallory. Like, yes, absolutely. Mallory could have asked, but Mallory was told that a variety of sponsors sponsored the whole company, not just her specifically. That she was never told that her scholarship comes from one specific donor. Otherwise, yeah, maybe she would have. But Daphne intentionally kept it vague to keep her like on the outs of knowing that. So for Oz to rock up and say the things that he said, I was like, I liked you, but you're being not chill. So I kind of was like, he was, of all of them, the one who gaslit her the least, which I appreciated. But there's so much gaslighting going on that the bar is on the ground. So yeah, I had real thoughts around that whole conversation.
That conversation was what made me like him more.
Oh,
because I was like, someone actually does just need to give her some tough love. And as much as I know I was just going on about like I have a lot of empathy for her because she is literally a child. As much as all of that, I was like, she has entered herself into a situation where she needs to be an adult and like be a professional in this. And like, I get that she quit chess at a point where it had only been for funsies for her, but like she has now agreed to go into it as it being a job, and like you can't just skip out on your job and leave your boss to like, please explain to the international chess gods why you've just disappeared. So I was like, I get why she ran away, but like in this situation someone does actually just need to, I felt like someone did just need to give her some tough love and be like, you just need to pull yourself together and sort this out.
Yeah, but I wanted that to be Defna. I wanted it to be Defna rocking up and being like,
That's
cool,
fair.
you don't have to do it, but you can explain to people why, when I backed you, you've chosen to back out, so that Mallory could yell at her and be like, you lied to me. And Defna can be like, yeah, I did. And do you know what? I'll hold my hands up. That was not the right move, but it's your turn now. And like, make all the chess puns you like. And like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's that kind of, I wanted it for that, because Defna kind of like, she apologizes and buys her some earrings, and like, then they're friends again. And you're like, okay, sure, like that is wild. And I guess it was really interesting because I really liked the monologue that Defna gives her about women in chess, because as a woman who played rugby, a notorious, I mean, I'm even wearing my my rugby jumper, not because I was going to make this whole little speech, but just because I like it and it's pink. You are constantly told that your game of rugby is not comparable to a man's game of rugby, that because the physicality of men and women is so different, we could never compete. And it doesn't matter that actually the women's England team have won more international games than the men's rugby team has. Doesn't matter. What matters is they couldn't play against each other because men are physically stronger than women, and therefore they must be better at the sport. That it must be more interesting to watch men's rugby than women's because of all these things. Hearing it about chess was really cathartic, not because I want more women to suffer the struggle, but because it's interesting that when it comes to sport, when it comes to any kind of competition, women are so undervalued. And for Ali Hazelwood to always be championing women in STEM, whether that's science, technology, maths, whatever, it was just nice to remember that actually, yes, we all like Ali Hazelwood because she writes a good romance, but actually we all like Ali Hazelwood because of all the other romance authors out there. She is the one being like, and women can too, remember? Like there's always that kind of like feminist message. I really liked that. And I feel like maybe if Defna had been the one to give her the tough love again, maybe it would have felt a bit like monologuing, but I actually probably would have preferred it because I feel like that was more established as a character trait. Having said that, I freaking love when Oz first took her for her first like meeting of like other chess players, when she goes to like the social for the first time, and he's like, ugh, I'm babysitting. And then like 5 seconds later, she's talked to Cock, he's horrible, and then he's like, all right, no, fair enough, I'll actually look after you. Like I really liked like that whole like friendship dynamic. I thought that was a lot of fun.
He's like a really exasperated older brother who's like, I really don't want you to be here, but since you're here, I'll look after you.
Yeah. And then even more so when she's naturally very good at the thing he spent his life working on. There's a very like Mozart Salieri moment of him just being like, no, that's fine. You get all the things that I spent my entire life working towards. That's okay, chill, I guess. But then he roasts her for where she lives, and it's just like, did someone say Nepo baby? So I thought it was fun. So the next thing on my list that I thought was a positive, I really, really liked, is the fact that there was a really nice use of bisexual rep. No erasure with regards to the fact that even though she's in a heteronormative relationship, that she hasn't had sapphic romances in the past, even nearly has one whilst in Vancouver. Very, very here for that, especially in combination with Nolan being a virgin. And I'm like, it's so rare that it's that way around that I just really enjoyed that rep.
Yeah, I think I remember the first time I read it being like really impressed with how naturally the first time she speaks about being with a woman, it's just that it's never mentioned as a thing until what is the younger sister's name? Darcy. Until Darcy blasted at dinner. But that it just like is part of her character and it's just mentioned. And she never like makes a show internally, as far as I remember, of it being like a thing that she's bisexual. It's just I'm hooking up with this person and he's a guy, and then I'm hooking up with this person and she's a woman.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that too. It normalized it quite a bit. And I have actually put
Yeah.
bisexual rep is so much cuter when your younger siblings drop you right in it. I really like that whole dynamic was very funny to me.
Yeah.
And
the fact that her whole family is just like, she just sleeps with people a whole bunch, and this is like a normal thing for us to talk about at the dinner table.
I think this is it. Like, I think you said obviously like about her being a teenager. I think there were so many instances where I just forgot that was a thing, because obviously the age of consent in the US is 21 anyway, and she isn't 21, but she is having sex with people she meets online, and she's being very safe about it and very sensible about it. But it's very much a commodity, rather than like a necessity for her. Like, it's just a thing that she does, with like zero emotional attachment. And the moment that she starts to feel any attachment, she runs away intentionally. That it makes it quite a light-hearted thing, to the point that I'm like, oh, I forgot that she's a teenager. So that that's because that's such a jaded response to it. Which then obviously does make like their relationship more interesting, because he's like, actually, it is quite important, and I want to, like, much like a good game of chess, I want it to be with the right person, kind of thing. Which I thought was very sweet. I did also, again, another like comment when he's having dinner and they're talking about like her sexual like encounters or whatever. And whether like this, and I think Darcy is like, are you two gonna have sex? And he just responds, it seems unlikely. Killed me. Like, genuinely, like I put the book down, I had a good old chuckle to myself, and then I came back to it. Like, I thought that was so ridiculous, and I loved it. I thought it was so funny.
He has a lot of one-liners that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like this book generally I find underappreciated. And I think that's because like a lot of her adult readers have no interest in reading a YA book that like doesn't have any spice in it and like valid. But I do think that it's so fun and so sweet, and I just feel like it gets forgotten about. But there's so much gold in this book.
Yeah.
And
Like,
also the two of them as characters and like the way that their relationship builds, I think is so beautiful. Like I just have the biggest soft spot. I do find it impossible to do like an Ali Hazelwood ranking. And like every time I read one of her books, I'm like, oh well, this is my new favorite book. Or every time I'm like reminded of a thing that a character does, I'm like, oh well, this is my new favorite Ali Hazelwood book. But I do, I just have so much affection for these two.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
It might
That's fair.
also be because when I read this, had pretty much stopped reading YA, and then I read this because it was Ali Hazelwood. So there was a sense of like, I don't know, not nostalgia, because it also like it is older, so it's not like it felt like the YA that I was used to reading. But I think it was nice for me to know that I could still appreciate like a spice-free romance.
Yeah. No, I
and completely
just feel like
agree. Invested in like the build and the sweetness.
Yeah, and I think that's it. Is like it's been a while since I've read an adult romance that hasn't had all of that stuff in, which is not a problem. I don't mind reading it. We both enjoy books that have that in that, but I think it was refreshing to be like, actually, this is exclusively the emotional entanglement. And that's what she struggles with. If it were just sex, she would not have had a problem with it. She'd have been like, cool, never have to think about him again. But the fact that and I think that partly is obviously because he is a virgin, it is more important to him. He draws that out of her and kind of forces her to acknowledge that. And I just really liked that. I thought that was actually like, yeah, really refreshing to have a romance where sex is not the predominant plot point. And also because like I have such a bee in my bonnet about a specific trope that when I read my own book back the other day, I realized I have done, and it annoys me no end, and now I don't know how to fix this, is when two characters have sex and then the bad thing happens the day after. So like this like beautiful thing that they're in is immediately broken like that. And it's like it's so easy to do because you want to hurt your characters in like their like most soft vulnerable moment, and
Yeah.
that's kind of so not having that steaminess, having like the height of their relationship being they're both working on chess and they're both having a great time, and she's now going to play this amazing game of chess that he has been really looking forward to, that all of his dreams are coming true by being able to play against her, and then the conflict comes out, was again really refreshing because they're not having sex, because otherwise it would have just been sex. And I think that was also like, that made it pros. That's almost enough for me to give it 5 stars, like upon reflection. I gave it 4 stars instinctively because the gaslighting thing really wound me up. And I thought, you've made me feel a thing, but not in a positive way. Like, I'm not crying because it's really sad. I'm not laughing because it's really funny. I'm annoyed at you. I'm annoyed at you that you've done this. So yeah, a really like an interestingly refreshing take on it, which I enjoyed. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
How did you find all of like? There's so many contemporary references in this. Like, she references TV shows constantly, to the point that I wondered if Ali Hazelwood was getting a sponsorship from Netflix for the number of shows she's dropping. Because we've got Star Trek, Veronica Mars, which no one talks about Veronica Mars, and it is one of my favorite TV shows ever of all time, and one of my favorite like romantic couples that hate enemies to lovers, slow burn over 3 seasons, chef's kiss, and Lara Jean and like a bunch of others. Yeah, I really enjoyed all the different references. How did you find them?
Yeah, I really don't have an issue with. I know a lot of people are like, oh, it dates it, and like it's annoying to read about stuff that's in the real world. And like I have zero issue with it. I'm like, I make contemporary references. And I'm also like I don't think that the books that most of us are writing are still going to be read in like 70 years, right? Like I don't think it matters if you reference a show now that in like 20 years someone is not going to understand. I think it's, and also I don't think she was referencing things in a lazy way.
No.
Because I have seen that where people will be like, oh, we're in this situation. It's like this book, and they use it as a way to not have to explain what's happening. This just felt like an 18-year-old relating to the world through the media that she consumes, which is like a normal thing to do. But my secondary point is that, I mean, that's a thing that she does in all her books. Like they are like name drops in all her books, but to a lesser extent. And I feel like in this case, she was like, hey, I finally don't have someone who has like a super intense job or like is doing a PhD. And this person might actually have time to like just enjoy media. So I'm going to take this opportunity to name drop all the things I love, because I don't get to do it enough in my other books.
Yeah, exactly. And also it's very like relevant because also like it can't really date it because all of those shows that she references have been off air for a while. So like Veronica Mars, there was a film that came out a couple of years ago, but I say a couple of years ago, it was I'm gonna look it up, I'm gonna make myself sad. It was probably a decade ago. I'm gonna look it up.
And like I haven't watched Veronica Mars, but it didn't take anything away from that moment for me, because I still like understood what the reference was saying.
Yeah. So the film came out in 2019. The TV series started in 2004. And it only went on for like 3 series. So I feel like it was never going to be, it's not going to date it in that way. Equally, you've got Star Trek that is so old, and like a couple of others that she referenced, that it kind of it's clearly like things they enjoy watching because it's just on television, like it's just a thing that's like reruns or things like that, or like things her mom or her dad were interested in. So I did not mind that at all. Like I think I agree with you. I don't mind a textual reference. If anything, I enjoy them because I like being like, oh, we have that in common. Like, and because it's such a weirdly, like for me, the Veronica Mars one was such a weirdly specific one. because like there's lots of books that I've read where they reference Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I love that show. I love that show. Veronica Mars is probably the only show I enjoy at the same level that I enjoy Buffy. Like those are the two that like they raised me. Do you know what I mean? Sabrina the Teenage Witch, the OG, is probably just below that. But it was like very much I loved a crime drama. My dad and I watch crime dramas every morning as we eat our porridge before I drive to work. So like I feel like there's things about that I find are very, very personal. But the thing that I found really jarring was when she started referencing herself and her sisters as Gen Z, and I was like, oh, like, just don't. I don't know. Like, and it wasn't because it dated it, but it was more just that I was like, you make me feel old by not being. So just don't do that.
So it was when, I mean, okay, I know that I am significantly older than Nolan is, but like he's a fully fledged adult. So I don't feel bad about having him on my like book boyfriends list. But it was when she describes him as a Gen Z sex symbol. And like I was born in 1996, so depending on who you listen to, I am either a millennial or Gen Z. Like I'm right on the cusp. But I feel like anyone who is a Gen Z sex symbol is too young for me. Like anyone that Gen Z is like, yes, this is the person of the moment is too young.
Yeah.
That made me feel old.
Well, this is it. And it's like, so Zach is 8 years younger than me, and I hate it. I hate it. It makes me cringe. He's fine with it. If anything, he actively prefers dating older people. I hate the fact that I'm older than he is. Not because I care about my age, but because there's just something icky about an age gap like that. And the idea of him being called a Gen Z
I have 10 years, I remind you.
Yeah, well, this is it. And it's like, so like I know age gaps aren't that deep, and theirs is like nothing, like character-wise, but it's just something about Gen Z's freak me out, you know. I think it's that millennial trauma. They're just like, ugh. But I don't know, it's quite funny. But yeah, and what a way to start a book as well, to start with a radio cut-off of Nolan. And this is the other thing, right? Like when they're talking about him being a sex symbol and him having all of these girlfriends and stuff, and like all these rumors about his sex life, and none of them are true. I thought that was really interesting because I think it really sets him up before we've met him that he's going to be a angry, tantrum throwing player. And then he's actually just this very quiet, gentle guy who just happens to be massive and good looking. Like, okay, dreamboat over here, like ticking all the boxes.
I also felt like it was a very like realistic look at like celebrity culture, and as much as a chess player can be a celebrity, and that like he says, you know, he did used to throw tantrums, he did used to get really angry. You know, the videos of him flipping tables are obviously real, but that like he's very clearly moved on from that, but that's still very much the way that he's portrayed, because kind of at the point that he became famous, that's who he was. So that's still the way that the media is portraying him.
Yeah, I think it is really interesting, and because like that is very true to like how, and also the idea that like celebrities have like their PR relationships anyway, of like him being seen with certain people, and it's not that actually they're in a relationship, it's just that it looks good. I did think it was really funny that Mallory the whole time is like, no one reads any of these chess forums, but she's literally in an interview on Good Morning USA, and she thinks no one will see that. I'm like, how deluded are you? how delulu? Where are we living if not Delulu land right now? You know. But yeah. Just gonna see if there's any other comments that I've made on my notes app, because I feel like we've ticked off the main things. I actually feel more positive about the book having discussed it with you.
This is my superpower.
Thing is, I think
making people fall more in love with Hazelwood,
which is fair. Like, because there's been a couple of times when I've read thrillers and I've been like, oh my god, that was so good, and then I've discussed it with people and I'm like, oh, that was actually bad. I've come away not enjoying it as much.
That happened with us with, I don't even remember what book it was, but one of the Lamentable Library live
The
shows, we both
walls.
went into it and we were like, it was okay. And by the end of it, we were like, this book was terrible. We hated it.
Yeah, genuinely. So it was In the Walls by A.L. Glynn or A.G. Glynn or something like that. Ugh. It was not good. Not good.
There was another one as well, though. It was the like religious-y town, the small town religious-y one.
Yeah, that was one that we did when we
Yeah,
had Becca on the
with
live show
Becca.
as well. Yeah, and I was like, yeah, I thought it was really interesting. And she went, yeah, but it's hella racist. So I went, oh my God, it
Oh,
was.
yeah.
I've never felt more white in my life than having to be explained by someone being like, that's racist, Hannah. Notice that they only picked on the guy of color. Oh, they did do that, didn't they? That's crazy. Like, was that necessary? No. Could have been anyone again. Yeah. But yeah, a couple of those. And that's okay. I like that this is a positive flip on that. But yeah. No, that is kind of all the notes that I had that are actually like relevant to the discussion, because other ones were like things that I was like, what? But then it gets explained later and we've discussed it anyway. So I've just got things like a commitment phobe, what a shock. And is it because her dad left and things like that, which obviously it was. I thought the dad was dead in chapter 5. And I'm like, oh my God, he is dead. So like things like that. I'm like, just proud of myself for working it out, you know? But yeah. No, overall, I think if anything, it has increased it to a 4.5. It's not quite a 5 stars because, like I said, it didn't make me have any of those like gut emotional reactions. But it was a good time, and I'm actually really keen to recommend this to people, especially people who aren't interested in a lot of spice or like, do you know what? I just want something that's a little bit different. I feel like this is different enough that actually it's a good time.
Can I just on that point, because I tried reading, just so for context, I've told you this, but for anyone watching, I read this book when it came out like 2 years ago, and then knew I was doing the live show, but ran out of time to reread the book this week. So then today I was like frantically looking for summaries, and then, as luck would have it, my child went to bed really early, and I like sped through the book. So I nicely refreshed myself. But when I was looking for summaries earlier, I stumbled upon a review, and this person does not like Ali Hazelwood books. And I was like, okay, you're one of those who keeps subjecting yourself to them just so that you can make like just so
You
that you
don't
can
like it, but
make
now you're okay reading
commentary
it
on
butchered
about how
gut.
bad it is. And she was like, it just felt like the story was filler to get from sex scene to sex scene. And I was like, am I misremembering this book? Like, I remember it being one, fade to black, and two, I remember there being like one sexual encounter between them.
Yeah,
And I was like, I feel like I'm misremembering. And then when I was rereading the book, I was like, it's really just the one time.
yeah, and it's immediately like fade to black, because I remember being like,
Yeah.
oh, this is good, and then it wasn't, and I was like, oh, okay, that's fine, which is good, because I was like, I was listening to it on my headphones on audiobook when we were getting the train. We popped to London to see my brother who lives abroad and had come over. And he only had like a finite amount of time. So we went up to see him. I listened to it on the train up and I listened to it on the train back. And when I turned my headphones on the way up, they were like, you have low battery. And I was like, I don't know how much I'm actually gonna be able to listen, because I'm not convinced I'm gonna get very far in this. But I didn't want to read it because I can only read going forwards on a train. I can't read going backwards.
Okay.
So I was like, I'm just gonna like listen to the audiobook. And actually it managed to make it the whole way there and the whole way back. But halfway through on the way back, the train is basically empty except for me and my parents. It's pitch black outside. And it was like building up to them like doing naughty stuff. And I was like, please don't die. Because I had this fear that my headphones were just going to cut out. And then
And the phone's
suddenly,
going to stop
yeah, it was just going to blare it in front of my parents. And I was like, please do not, please do. And actually, I managed to make it the whole way home. And then it faded to black anyway. And I was like, whew, what a relief. Because I was like, this could have gone so terribly. But yeah, so, and I also think it's really nice because I didn't choose Checkmate first because it was probably going to be the most gentle of the Ali Hazlewoods. I chose it to go first because it was one that people were more reluctant to try. Like people that had it on their TBR weren't as it. And I think you're right in the fact that it is undervalued, because I actually think it is really good. It ticks a lot of really great things that romance can do as a genre, like exploring specific themes without it just being about sex. And I think it's great that we have so many books about sexual liberation and about sex that are sex positive. I don't think it hurts to mix it up every once in a while, especially if that's if the feminist kind of mentality of the author is looking at a variety of different themes. That's cool too. I think it was just like a nice little added string to the bow, you know?
But I did feel like it was an extremely sex positive book, but just in a way that was like appropriate for all the teens, which was nice.
Yeah.
Because I think like teenagers are having sex. Like I think it's important for them for there to be like representation of it being like done safely and done consensually, and it being like, you know, you having sex doesn't make you a terrible person. So I felt like the fact that she was like doing stuff so freely was extremely positive. But yeah, just done in a way that I think obviously needed to be done appropriately for the audience.
Absolutely.
Which was the thing I was curious about before I read the book. I was like, I'm interested to see what level it's at. And then was really glad that it was Fade to Black, because I was like, I think it would have made me feel really icky if it was like gratuitous and focused on.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was nice. So is there anything else that any other comments or questions you had about it that you wanted to discuss?
I think we've mostly covered things.
I feel like we did. Oh no, the only thing we haven't is the antagonist. We haven't really discussed him as a character, nor his like cheating scandal. And I can't believe we made it to 57 minutes before I brought him up. It is hilarious to me, and I can't remember how it's spelled, the spelling of the antagonist. But the idea that the audiobook was like his name is Cock is very funny to me.
But also he's German, so it should be Koch, surely.
Surely. Yeah, I was reading it as Kosh, like almost like Klosh to begin with.
Yeah.
But the fact that the audiobook was like, yeah, and then this guy Cock, I was like, hilarious. Because then it felt like anytime they were like talking down about him, I was like, Andy's got a funny name. I thought it was really interesting that we really hear like so much about the rules of like not being able to have like certain things with them, and the fact that he's like hidden the smartwatch like up his sleeve, and that no one noticed that he keeps like because like if it's at his elbow, like that is like
it's difficult to discreetly get to.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, how did no one notice? The thing is, the moment he won, my brain went, well, he's cheated, hasn't he?
Yeah.
There's no way. There's no way. Like she had him pinned.
There's a line where one of Nolan's friends, I want to say it was Emil, is like, it feels like two different chess players.
Yeah.
And that was like, okay, that's our confirmation that he definitely cheated.
Yeah. And I liked the fact that he was so much better at being a celebrity personality than either Nolan and Mallory were, in the fact that he has his TikTok and he has his followers and he has his misogyny, and like all of these things that really work for him. But he actually can't play chess to the level that they can. And but he is a phenomenal player. Like the part of the problem is that actually he keeps getting to the challenges because as much as he might not be as good as Nolan, he is still better than everybody else. I just thought he was such an easy person to hate. Like the first time she meets him and he's misogynistic, I was like, oh good, a baddie. I love that. And he really did feel like a stereotypical villain and loved it. was very here for that.
Like, he could have been twirling a moustache.
Yeah. And I also liked that at no point was there any sexual contact between him and Mallory. Like, he was, as much as she was like, there is a threat of that here, he makes me uncomfortable, there was never anything explicit. Because obviously in other Ali Hazelwoods, we know that there is like sexual assault and sexual violence. It was really nice for it to be like, no, not in this one. Like, it felt, and also like it was interesting because she talks about the fact that after he makes the comments that he makes, like he says like, oh, did you win because you wore a low cut top? She decides not to wear a dress, because what a universal female experience to be like, do you know what? No, I'm not going to wear that because I won't feel safe wearing it. Even just safe from comments made. Like, I have quite a big chest. I have to be very careful what I wear to work, because even something that would sit in a normal spot, if I lean forward, if I'm helping like a student, I'm naturally in that posture. I have to be very, very careful. So it is like a universal thing. So her like deciding to put on the plaid that then becomes so recognizable because everyone's like, that's you. Like, we recognize your grotty shirt. We know who you are. Was just really interesting. So the fact that he is this threat without actually being sexually violent. He was such a fun bad guy to hate. I just really liked him as a character concept. Not as a person, as a character concept.
And I really liked that later, like, she's almost exclusively experienced misogyny or just like people looking down on her. And that later there's that group that comes to her and they're like, please beat him. We hate him so much.
Yeah, exactly. Like, she goes and sits with that group of guys and they're like, no, we hate him. We have a group chat where he is like exclusively not allowed. And I also really enjoy that
we have like a channel dedicated to dissing him.
Yeah, exactly. Are you on Discord? I just really loved. I just thought that was so good. That was so good. And I also really love the fact she's like, there's so many people here that are just like in their 30s. She's like, these people are so much older than me. And I was like, again, thank you for that bus. I didn't see you throw me under until it was too late.
Yeah.
Brilliant. But yeah, so I think a strong 4.5. Yeah, I would absolutely 10 out of 10 recommend this. It was a good time. I had a good time. The next book, actually, I can take the banner off for spoilers because this has nothing to do with it now. This is a spoiler, but everyone should know about it. The next one I'm going to be doing is Love Theoretically, which again I've never read before. So there's like a couple that I have, but Love Theoretically is one of the ones that I haven't. But yeah, so we've got physicists, theoretical physicists in this one. Is there anything? Like, obviously, I don't want any spoilers because I haven't like read it yet. Is there anything in this that you're like, I can't wait for you to experience this thing?
I don't know. I think it struck me very deeply because of a personal thing.
Okay.
So there is one thing that I think you'll be really tickled by.
Okay.
That is a very like minor plot point that I think you'll just enjoy.
Okay.
Okay. But please feel, because I'm not discussing this one with you in the show, so like this one absolutely send
this
me.
one I can send you like all my thoughts.
Yeah.
No. So this one, the live show is going to be on the 28th, I believe. I'm going to double check because I have messaged Victoria, but I think it's the 28th of March at 7 p.m. again. And with Victoria from what Victoria read. So really, really intrigued to get to this one. And also, this will be the first live show I've ever done with Victoria. So that should be really fun. Maybe I'll actually do something sensible and it won't be as much chaos as they normally are. But is that likely? Who knows? So thank you to everybody for joining me. Thank you, Kelly, for coming and talking to me about Ali Hazelwood. I've had a wonderful time, as always. And I hope everyone has a brilliant rest of their weekend. And I'll see you all very soon. Bye.